Table Talk with Brenda Perryman is brought to you by Livingston Family Dentistry.
Livingston Family Dentistry knows that good dental care ensures overall wellness, and healthy teeth and gums can perfect your smile. With over 30 years of experience, Dr. Ronald and Dr. Blake Livingston take the time to explain every treatment. Their modern office and friendly staff are committed to making you feel comfortable, informed, and satisfied. Located at 13724 Woodward in Highland Park, call now 313-883-3050. If your teeth are not becoming to you,
then you should be coming to us.
We are live. We are live. Ellis and I are live for a few minutes. Our other co-hosts, they should be here in very, very shortly. But me and Ellis can talk a blue streak about something that disturbed a lot of people.
Whoa, yes.
The yesterday with Trump talking like he does. But, I'm not surprised that he said that people come from, he doesn't want any more people from S-hole countries.
Yeah.
He'd rather someone from Norway. I mean, how white can you get with that?
Yeah. I mean, the arrogance of that, but keep in mind that that's a culture of arrogance to the point where you're in the White House and you say a statement like that is so disrespectful and you don't even care who's listening.
And it took them so long. Well, he finally this morning said the conversation didn't occur like that, but we know it did.
Let me just say this here. There's no place in the White House for you to say S-hole anything, anytime.
Right. No place in the White House.
No
Golly, everybody. There's some handsome men coming through the door. And we're going to go to a quick break. I hear the weather's getting a little bad out there, a little dicey. And we'll be right back with Table Talk because we're even going to, what is it, to Raji Henson's movie? Mary.
Proud Mary.
Proud Mary. And how Sony won't back Black
Won't put the money behind it. Yeah.
Won't put the money behind promoting. We'll be right back.
Livingston Family Dentistry knows that good dental care ensures overall wellness, and healthy teeth and gums can perfect your smile. With over 30 years of experience, Dr. Ronald and Dr. Blake Livingston take the time to explain every treatment. Their modern office and friendly staff are committed to making you feel comfortable, informed, and satisfied. Located at 13724 Woodward in Highland Park, call now 313-883-3050. If your teeth are not becoming to you,
then you should be coming to us.
We are back and an abundance of riches. Welcome, gentlemen. We'll do the quick introduction.
Chris Summerall, public servant and entrepreneur in Detroit.
Yeah, John Paul Ghetto. Ghetto.
We're going to get my hat.
John Paul Ghetto.
John Paul Ghetto.
John Paul. Ellis Liddell, author of Merging Faith with Finance. So Wealth Management, Merging Faith with Finance.
Jerome Buffington, business development manager for Michigan Community VNA.
Yes, all around good guys. But guys, we were talking about the fact, Ellis and I, as we were killing time, we talked about the fact that it's interesting that the first article we have to talk about deals with the how the media portrays our race, and they kind of lump us all together. Mm-hmm. And when Donald Trump this summer, when he was running, he was saying that your schools are bad, you have crime, you have all this stuff. What do you have to lose? Yeah. Well, if you would have seen my earlier segment on taxes, you'll see I had a lot to lose. But anyway, and then Trump says what he had to say. So we're having people try to create our narratives.
It is definitely happening. I think that I found myself for the last few years really pulling back from the media overall, right? Because of the effect that it has on me. And no doubt a part of that is how people who look like me and are from where I'm from are depicted. So it was a conscious decision for me to limit the amount of viewing time that I'd give them, that I'd allocate, because I actually would feel different. Like now, granted, we have to be engaged to a certain point, but with the advent of social media, we've got a direct kind of contact that where a lot of this fluff that we see on 247, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, all these, like we don't need them anymore. And so I used to find myself getting angry. Certain stories would make me angry, and I'd have to be aware of it. And so I agree with you 100%, Brenda, that the depiction has an effect on us, and it has an effect on the narrative and how we're treated. But personally, I know for me, I've kind of withdrawn a little bit from what once I would look at as a credible outlet.
Well, let me just say this real quick. I saw this morning where they were talking about what Trump said about the people from Africa and different countries calling it an S-hole or a number 2 hole, whatever you want to call it. Those countries, he was labeling those countries, and we know that Nigeria Nigeria is very rich, very rich. But here's the
South
thing:
Africa as well.
they had there was a politician on this morning saying, "Well, he just said what a lot of people are thinking."
Wow.
And we already figured that, but he said it. He never said it was wrong or anything. Well, people are thinking that. So he's creating the thing for the rest of white America. They're thinking that too, and we know that that's not so, but still it impacts us on the perception that people have of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me just say this here. You would think in 2018, after slavery, you no longer can say that there's a direct line. And when you look at schools, little kids play together. They're so innocent. Kindergarten, they want to play with the most fun person, so you could be the only African American in that school. You can have lots of friends. You can get invited to all the parties, right? About 8th grade, something happens in America.
Changes.
And that dynamic is so devastating because kids start to separate into groups. And it's probably starting to happen at 6th grade now because it's getting earlier and earlier.
It is in 6th grade.
So it goes back to what you said about the media and the way that they portray African American children. Well, a later story we're going to talk about shows that same portrayal. So the challenge that we have is we have to create our own narrative. What does that mean? I mean, I hated to see Roland go because you need somebody who at least presents the story from your perspective. You don't have to always agree with them, but at least they can give it to you from your perspective. So now we have a few people who are trying to do that. Like, Don Lemon got into a heated thing trying to, present it from an African American take. Donald Trump will never be able to think like me. Never, never, ever. Yeah. But I want to be able to think like him. And guess what? Together, that narrative makes a good suit to make America. But we can't have people out there in 2018 saying things like President Trump said, and those who support him to say, well, other people are thinking it. What kind of people are you?
Right. Well, he said it all.
I would say also, it's what we allow. Just to go back to what you said, Chris, I find myself not falling back, but actually looking to see what exactly can we do to push back. Because when you look at television now, entertainment, when you look at the images that are displayed, we have a power that we can say, no, we're not going to accept this. There used to be a time when, okay, you had A Different World, you had Cosby Show, that show people in different lights. It wasn't just one thing. Now we have Basketball Wives, we have the wives of this, we have Atlanta Housewives. We show
It shouldn't be wives because ain't none of them really wives.
Right, right.
They're just
Some are
side
married,
chicks
right?
or whatever.
We show a lot of women on TV fighting, arguing, not getting along. We, you see the other reality shows, and it's really disheartening. But it's what we allow. So we don't have a lot of shows. You have Blackish now, which actually attacks some of the things that we're speaking of right now. The images, how people view each other,
right.
from different ethnicities.
And also the impact of certain words on us, the impact, like we were talking about people, the way they perceive us as a people. Now, I remember when I first started teaching in Southfield, that was in 88. I had left Highland Park after 17 years, went in 88 to Southfield, which was majority white still. And I'll never forget that I remember being in the teacher's lounge, and I said, well, my kids, I mentioned, because I have 3, and they said, wow, you have children? I said, yes. You don't seem like a mother.
Wow.
I said, what does that mean? Well, they said, well, you just have a different spirit, a different way. I never got to it, but I looked at them and I said, well, maybe I'm not looking way down. I'm not, I couldn't explain it. We have a call on the line right now. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Yes.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I seen they talked about Trump, what he said, but when I listen to that, and I look at these conditions just in Detroit that reflects the condition of the black community across this country, over 85% of those who 16 to 64 in Detroit are jobless.
Are what?
14% are jobless. They have no jobs. 14%.
You said 85%? You said
85.4%.
You're wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong. There's not an 85% unemployed.
Have you ever used the employment rate? I'm not talking about the unemployment rate. I'm talking about employment rate. Do you know the difference?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we know the
well,
difference.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about unemployment. Unemployment rates only count those who primarily join unemployment, and they say they are part of the workforce with those who is employed. I'm talking about those looking at how many people got a job. They're 16 to 64. There's only 14.1%. And most of those people in Detroit that's got a job, they are low wage and minimum wage jobs. So therefore, I'm seeing a family that's a transit. When you look at the schools, the principals say, well, every year we're having new children, and those children are moving every other month. Well, when you got a situation like that all over the country, then for the president to say about Africa, it's not important to the masses of working and poor blacks. It's only important to the middle class black, who incidentally, they're saying we don't need you middle class no more because you all help slaughter the masses. So I'm hearing who's crying, the ones who helped starve the masses of blacks by going against the program that we created in Alabama starting in 1963. We went for the program to the middle class to play the game, learn the game, and play the game. And now they say we don't need you middle class no more. Your churches are decreasing. We don't need you on your job. We need foreigners who have higher education. And now those middle class blacks are crying that he says Africa is pitiful or whatever, and it's racist. But when the masses of black people are dying in Detroit and across this country, that shows you the separation between us and the black community, what we are worried about.
I think that his intentions are wonderful. The challenge here is statistics. And one of the things we might as well talk about it now is all of our statistics have been overinflated. Our employment statistics have been overinflated. It's to keep us feeling like an impoverished community that we're not. I'm a financial manager here in the Detroit area, and I've got over 1,000 clients who last year together made $20 million. So there are people making money, but that doesn't even count. That doesn't show up in any statistics that the people who had money to invest and how well that money did. It just doesn't show up on any statistics. So now, are there people who'd like to have good work that are between 18 and 64? Absolutely. That's why I say your heart's in the right place. But you're quoting statistics that we are going to discuss that are overinflated. Jobs,
well, let me say this real fast, and I'm going to hang up because I can't hardly hear you. I took the population that's 16 to 64. I divided that. I took the ones who's working. That's 78%, according to Future Detroit. I divided that 78% of African Americans in Detroit and divided into that population, and that's how I got the percent. And how you get that, you go to Larson and ask them at the income tax how many people. That's the best statistic. Get those statistics and ask them how many people that they process that return taxes. And that's so I told you my method, and I tell me your method that counters that to say that method is not correct.
So
Thank you.
Okay, now.
And thank you for your comment, because there are some parts in there that that I do agree with. However, case in point, you have entrepreneurs who would not fall under the typical income tax bracket right now, and we wouldn't be reflected in those numbers because we're not taxed the same as a W-2 employee. So those numbers are not necessarily indicative of the black
real-
folks who are actually
real.
out there in the workforce, right? We may not have a job, but we're in the workforce. We are job creators. We are content creators, and that's really where the societal shift has come. And so those numbers, while they do provide a glimpse of reality, it's not a true perspective. What I did want to touch on, though, is the importance or lack thereof of what President Trump said regarding his feeling about those countries. What you said, and I think what you meant by this, which I do agree with, is that we have more pressing issues than that. Now, that's not to say it's not important, but there's a triage that needs to happen in the black community, in our own neighborhoods, and in our own households, and ultimately in our own minds. And so how much energy are we willing to allocate toward each thing will directly impact how much change we see in each area.
Absolutely.
So we can see Trump recant it, but he probably won't.
Trump can say the N-word.
Well,
I don't
he
even
won't.
care.
He won't, and he doesn't
No,
have
he can't
to.
say what he won't do.
Well,
I don't think there's anything that we can say this president won't
The
do.
reason
He
why I
said he
say-
could walk down the street, shoot
shoot
somebody,
somebody,
nothing would happen.
But
Thank
the
you,
reason
sir.
why I say that he won't is because what I have identified as an unwavering characteristic of him is a lack of humility, right? And so, yes, he could surprise me, but if I had to be willing to bet everything on or off of that, it would be that I wouldn't be surprised. And so, again, to the caller's credit, I think that, and I know we're going to segue to the H&M story.
Yeah, but we're not going to
But-
spend a lot of time on
But
that.
even with that story, one thing that I
Well,
was
we have a call
okay.
on this. Tom is on the phone. Good morning.
Hi, Brenda. How are you?
Fine, Tom.
And
Speak
good
up a
good
little
morning.
louder, please.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that's somewhat better. Yes.
Okay, and good morning to the gang with you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning,
You know what?
sir.
Detroit, we've got a high rate of unemployment, but we're not that dire picture that Tyrone just painted. I mean, that would mean basically that just about everybody in this doggone city would not have a job, okay? But now, let me switch to number 45. I mean, it was absolutely reprehensible in terms of what he said. And now he's sitting there denying that he said it. And I saw it on MSNBC. Dick Durbin, who was in there at that meeting, said that Trump said what was reported. And I mean, the bottom line comes down to this. You know, here's this guy who's, he's been an embarrassment to this country. And I mean, just because something's a thought doesn't mean that it has to become a spoken word. And I mean, you know, when the Trump that ran, you know, and defeated his opponents in the Republican Party, and all the things that the nasty things that he said about, you know, women and Muslims and, you know, people of color, I said, listen, this man's, excuse me, I didn't mean to insult men. I said, he is not going to change. What you see is what you're going to get.
Right.
And I mean, he has opened up the door for all of these racist people. He wrote them a blank check for them to go out there and do what they did, because that's exactly the reason why that young lady down there in Charlottesville was ran over and killed by the guy in the car, okay? Because Trump gave him a blank check to go out there and do it. And I mean, you know, some of these folks, I mean, they wasn't quite up under the rock all the way, but they were up under there far enough. But when he came into office, well, really even before that, you know, lock her up and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
I mean, you know, he's, like I said, he's just a plain, pure embarrassment to this country.
Right.
And like
But something I heard today, it's like you don't expect him to change.
oh, no, I don't.
But and you said that. You don't expect it, and you said that. Everybody thinks that. What we have to do is galvanize stronger. As groups, as whoever we are, we
And
have
also
to
the
be
GOP.
more forceful.
It's a
The
waste of.
GOP has got to do that, too.
Just
They've
we-
got to show that they've got a spine.
Well,
Because
you
otherwise,
know,
if they don't stand up as a united front and tell him, like, we're not going to stand for any more of this kind of,
I
besmirch-
expect nothing.
right, belittling and
I expect
disrespecting
nothing.
people. Well, no, I don't, same thing like people talking about, I was listening to other people this morning talking about him apologizing. I said, he's not going to apologize. And I'll say this, and I'm going to go. It's time for Eminem to issue another rap of mass destruction, RMD. Because if you notice, anytime somebody's text or tweeted something about Trump, he's attacked. The only person that he didn't attack was Eminem. And it's time for him to drop another rap of mass
Well,
destruction.
we need to drop it. I can't wait on. What are you saying? The impact of one white man to another white man?
Come on and save us.
Nobody. I ain't looking for nobody. And I'm telling you, before some of these people get elected into office, we need to know what they're going to do. They have to put it down, and we have to film it or something. But thank you, Tom. Have a
thanks for taking the call.
Chris.
I have a lot of respect for Tom. He's a regular caller. But this is this is a waste of time. Like, in the sense of, okay, anybody who's familiar with the relationship between the United States and Haiti already know how the United States feel about Haiti. Right? So like, why are we as black people so emotional? Like, we already know what the reality is. Like, I really feel we lack collective strategy. We lack collective strategy, and we're so emotional. Oh, well, we need to get Eminem. That's a crazy idea. All due respect, Tom, and this whole Trump stuff. Even I was going to touch on real quick with the H&M, right? Let's strategize, right? Did anybody? I saw all these people posting about this boy, and that's great.
We got
But anybody
bigger
look at their stock?
problems,
Did anybody look at their stock to see maybe if they could short it? Right? Why are we not like the honeybee that doesn't care what flower it lands on, it extracts value?
Right.
Why can't we learn this? Why do we always, it's everything about what I feel, and this, nobody cares how black people feel.
I hadn't heard about the H&M thing until I got a call, I think Tuesday morning, from my son, who said that, why are we spending so much time on this? I'm not spending any time. I did put it on our list to talk about, only because we have to get, the mother of the model even said, get a life. She told all of us to get a life. You see the picture, of the young man. I believe they're from England.
Right, Britain. Yeah. So here's a challenge. The mother, let me tell you this here. There have been little old mothers down in Mississippi and other places whose boys got hung from a tree. And they said, I forgive the white folks that did that. I'm a Christian. Somebody has to speak up because it still was illegal. It's still wrong.
Right.
This is still wrong. No matter, the mother listen, her son has to continue to work. He wants to be a model. So she has to keep working him. So she's got to say get over it. But it doesn't make it right.
Right. I'm not saying it makes it right. It's okay. We're all up in arms, but Chris had a good point. Who looked at their stock?
We just get riled up over stuff that produces no value in our community.
But I get
it produces moral victories, but we don't need moral victories at this point. We need strategic.
I get riled up at home invasions in Detroit or
exactly.
wherever. I get riled up.
We won't have a campaign about that. Oh, that wasn't my house. Oh, that's funny. We'll put it on a Facebook. Funny. Look at that criminal. He was halfway stuck in the window. Like, it's, I mean, we act dumb, and I'm talking like we act dumb, and I'm like beyond being surprised with it, right? Because at the same point where we're like making memes and oh, this boy, and then going in on his mom and something. Like, we live in a time when there's such a great transfer of wealth. We live in a country that is more capital driven than any country ever. And we want to worry about, well, like, you can feel great and be broke at the same time. And in this country, where the position you occupy as far as goods and services, wealth or the lack thereof, will determine your voice in that room. And so we are just constantly screaming, but we don't realize we're hoarse as a people. We have no voice.
Okay, Daron.
You have to combat it. You have to. Because if you allow it, then you're saying it's okay.
Triage. I'm not saying don't do it.
You're saying it's okay.
Order of importance. When I was a firefighter, I could pull up on a scene, and there could be a car on fire, a house on fire, and something else going on. I would quickly have to decide, okay, what is of most importance? What I'm saying collectively as the black community, our triage skills suck because we consistently divert, whether it be our impactful stars, athletes, our collective voice, we are putting it to things that will produce no lasting value. Because Haiti, let's look at Haiti. The policy is not changing on Haiti, right?
That policy changed under Bill Clinton.
And
People don't even realize that.
And the Clinton Foundation stole hundreds of millions of dollars that was allocated for Haiti when they went through that big earthquake.
And they run the gold mine that's in Haiti.
Absolutely. So the reality is that I appreciate Trump. Tell me. But don't like, hey, take a picture with Haitians, like, hey, send us some money, and don't do that. But see, we won't get behind that. And so again, it's so emotional. It's not strategic. It's like, is this reality? Is this real life? Remember that boy in that little video we went for dinner? Is this real life? Like, are we really gonna have these same conversations and end up like there are?
Okay, but I'm gonna tell you this, Chris. Going back to what Ellis is saying and Daron is saying, and I do understand and I agree with practically everything you're saying, but things like the sweatshirt or things that are, I mean, the whole monkey piece, I had to explain to my kid about the monkey piece. I said, your grandfather was called a monkey. Mm-hmm. This is part of the narrative that people look at us through. I don't care. It may not affect you because you've been empowered. You've empowered yourself. You've learned to empower yourself. A lot of people have not, and perspective is, I mean, how do they look at your niece, my son, your daughter, your daughter or son? How do people look at it? What prism do they look at it through? The monkey prism?
But you have to. I look at things, okay, so if you upset, if you say something derogatory about a member of the Jewish community, they're coming out and they're coming after you. And they're going to make all kind of statements, and you're going to take it back. You say something about the lesbian, gay community, LGBT, they're going to come after you. You're going to take it back. So when you say something about the African-American community, if we don't say anything, if we don't do anything, then we're saying it's okay, and they're going to keep doing it. Just like when we started off this conversation talking about how people view us. If they view us like, hey, they don't care, so we shouldn't, then
they don't look at us and say, oh, they black, they're not going to pay their loan off.
I'm not saying
they're not
don't care.
Do this.
I'm not saying don't care.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't prioritize some things, but we're being attacked from so many different fronts
that we got to triage. We got to take some. We got to something have to be of primary importance, secondary, so forth and so on. And so my point is that the Jewish community, the reason why we're so sensitive is because we don't have no control of nothing.
Okay, wait.
We're so sensitive, we don't have no control.
Wait.
We have control of ourselves. That's one thing.
We have our
hey, let me just kind of tie all this together. Do you realize for $0 spent on a budget, H&M is known worldwide because of one little boy wearing a monkey shirt? They owe that boy $1 billion because this story is in Australia. This story circled the entire world. H&M is in everywhere now. They were not in the United States. They were not. They started out in other countries. So now they're here, and guess what? This story will pass, but people remember H&M. And it cost them $0 to do what they did. It was a brilliant marketing move. horrible in terms of the people they chose.
And
to
it was not a
attack.
mistake.
But it was not a mistake.
It was not a mistake.
Oh, no, don't think by no means. This
By-
was thought out.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
for sure.
it tells
So-
you about the lack of diversity in so many companies. And I tell you this, Ryan, he works for a gigantic book company. He's been made a director of this state. He doesn't live in this state. But he said, Mom, I think it's because I think differently than most of the managers because of color. A lot of people hire people who are like them.
Correct.
And he's not like them. He comes from a different perspective, a different environment, and so forth. So he thinks a little differently, and it's more creatively, which has made him more successful. But he doesn't say that because of this success, I'm going to be treated right all the time as a black man.
Right.
I'm still a black man.
And it's a good thing he remembers that because he will not be treated right all the time.
Right.
and so you know how you
He's
tie
the
it.
flavor of the day.
You know how you tie it full circle. Instead of so.
I
one
wanna
thing that-
hurry up through
one
this
of the
and
things
get
that
off this topic.
That bother me is when people complain, but they offer no solution, right? In business, in life, and whatever. So, what if we had a campaign that did vent our concern and show our concern and anger, but then redirected it maybe at FUBU or at Sean John or at something like we stop on the just complaining. Well, that's not going to change anything. Like, redirect the narrative. Why we got this attention? And we're on the mountaintop and the whole world are listening to black people talk about this H&M sweater. How about we hashtag, Fat Farm or something like, come on.
Well,
That's called guerrilla marketing, by the way. So
Yeah.
you take advantage, monkey gorillas.
My man.
So
This guy.
So it gives you an opportunity to. You're correct.
What you calling me?
Take advantage of somebody else. Take advantage of
Chimp.
something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But let's tie this up. It's all about perception, and we do have to raise Cain about it. But there are other things in our own community that we have to raise Cain about in order for us to unite. That's the problem with so many people. Now, people talk about how back in the day everybody hung together. Not everybody hung together, but it was more togetherness. And some people say that segregation was good because we had to rely on each other. I don't think segregation was good.
I think segregation is good because economically we were more powerful than we are today.
Well, that's true.
And that's where
true.
it was good. And that's why we can't
That is
leave
true. You're right.
wanting to do business with someone who looks like the community God put you in. Look like the community, the person God made you. Don't get me wrong. I spent a lot of time in England for a while, and I saw lots of people who accepted me who were Indian and from other places because we all had something in common. What? We were migrants. That's a commonality.
Correct.
So here we are. We take for granted those things that we have in common, and we have to go back and embrace those things.
And so what was once old is new again. So what we disdained or we fought against to have a tight black community circulation of dollars, now we would only hope to have that exist right now, that same environment. And so,
But some of those towns were burned down too.
Oh yeah, I'm very
like Wall Street. But keep in mind, there are people who are sitting around right now thinking about how to divide or how to get the dollars out the black community every day. That's a think tank. And we need to have a think tank that's sitting around figuring out how to get the dollars from somebody else's community to bring them to the black community.
That's why I rock with this man right here.
I don't think that happens. I don't
Well,
think
it doesn't. That's why
I don't
somebody
think
has
that
to do
happens.
it. It may
That's
be
very
Chris.
unfortunate.
It may be you.
It does on
Somebody's
a
gotta
micro
do it.
level, because me and my circle, we do. And, we've got some interesting projects that can possibly start that or whatever. But we don't have the platform. We don't have, and in many instances, we don't have the resources, just being 100.
Let me just say this here. It's not just that. What's still the most powerful force in our community? Where they gather people together and you can give them a message. What
The
is that?
church.
That's the church. And it's still the most segregated place in America every Sunday. Or Saturday night. We have a lot of Saturday churches now. So if we don't get the churches to stop being so not political, as they say, but everything's
But
politics.
they're political.
And they'll let Bill Clinton run up in there in a minute. Right? So if we don't, Donald Trump even. So if we don't do something to take back our black churches, and I'm going to say it, take back our black churches, there have to be a platform. Because how do you think people bought houses? It started in the black church. If you had a pastor that wanted to have a house, guess what? He told the people how he was going to get a house. and it helped everybody else in the congregation side to get a house.
You know, I heard Bill Clinton once, this was in person, it was down at the Fox Theater, and this is when he was president, and everybody just yelling, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton. He comes out on stage, he said, hey, you know, they were still clapping, so he was still soaking it up. You know, Bill, he likes that stuff. And then he said, oh, I could have you going glory, hallelujah all night long. That's exactly what he said. That's exactly
All night
what he
long,
said.
right.
All night long. But, you know, we have a message and we want to get it out. I mean, people elevated him to,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, deity.
And his wife had
was
hot
cool.
sauce in her
That's
purse.
what it was. He was
Yeah.
cool.
His
He had
wife had
style.
hot sauce in her purse too. Don't forget about that. So
Yeah, but
kinda
people
give you
still
an
don't
idea
believe
that
that
couple
they did a job on Haiti. They still don't believe it. It's impossible for Bill Clinton to have done that.
the pipeline to prison. That was under the Clinton administration.
administration.
We so emotional though, but it's like
But
you know, it's like arguing with a person.
Let's go on to our next subject because we can talk about this like we've done almost the whole hour. I just want to get on some things, and we don't have to stay on this. This whole thing in the beginning of the week, Oprah for president, I could not even believe that. I said she gave a speech. Hitler gave a speech. I'm not comparing her to Hitler. You know, pathos, you know, she's a good person to speak, and she has quite a following, and she said the right things. But president,
Well, I think I'd be interested to see Harpo in the first in the White House. I will see
Harpo.
Harpo. I will be interested to see him as the first husband. See, see Harpo as the first husband.
Stedman would be the first boyfriend. He's not a husband.
Well, you know, we going back to the Color Purple days with Harpo.
Harpo.
You know, so
Harpo to beat me.
yeah. Oh, it was that mule. It was that mule out front of that White House party.
No.
So, but
all my life I had to fight.
But again, this goes back to that emotional, and it was more than the black community. This was more than the black community.
I know.
But we so emotional. It ain't strategic. It's like, man, it's like a guy or a girl who fall in love every week. Every week. Oh, it's just
I'd fall in love
my God.
forever.
No, not this one. You gotta
Once
see
every
the
week or
nicest guy.
two.
You got wait till you meet the next week. What happened to that? Oh no, this one. I'm sure this is
Right.
every week. The
Hey,
black folks
let me
is
tell you,
falling
But
in love.
this is the Trump effect. We want anybody but him.
It was before
That's a good
Trump.
point.
It was before
And-
Trump.
And I don't think it's such a crazy idea.
I do.
Ronald Reagan won.
Hey,
He was
Ronald
an actor.
Reagan. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Governor. And what if he
And
had a chance-
Donald Trump.
If he was born in the right country, he'd had a chance to run for the president.
Yeah, Donald Trump
So
literally
Oprah,
has opened the door for anybody.
listen, anytime a woman can go from zero poverty level, I mean nothing.
Oh, I admire,
all the way to where
admire
she's
her
at.
so much. I admire
She's
her.
smart enough to surround herself with the right team of people.
Right.
And she's not going to say something that's so asinine.
Well,
she's not going to do it.
I don't think she's going to run because she's a very private person as well. And when you run for office,
yeah.
It's all-
all privacy is cut off.
Oh, they searching everything.
I thought it was a feel-good
That's why
moment.
I
Already
won't
started.
run.
And it
It was a feel-good
doesn't
moment. That's why you won't
matter.
run.
That's why I won't
It was a
run.
feel-good
What kind of
moment.
Not gonna
skeletons you
change
got,
our lives.
Ms. Perriman?
Won't
I don't
change
wanna
one
talk
thing in our
about
lives. Let's talk about what stuff changed our lives. Like the president doesn't.
What?
My
Oh,
thing is
you
this: we're
said-
focusing on the presidency, and our snow ain't snow
not
ain't shovel. Like people are like, oh, like handle your house. I see all these people making all these posts and stuff like that, and their house ain't even. They crack the door open. Who is it? Because they got mess all in their house. That's what I'm saying. Triage. We
All
wanna-
right, I don't want to hear that word anymore. Okay.
Hashtag triage.
Black Twitter has gotten very upset, and they want to boycott the Black Panther movie. I want to say this real quick. What's the young man who plays the Black Panther?
Chadwick.
Chadwick Boseman.
Yes.
He looked good in that suit. But
I don't think you
Michael
get either one of
P-
us guys to bite on that. However,
Michael,
going.
I mean, I'm going just for the suit. I'm going for the suit.
Oh, Lord.
Skin tight. But anyway,
black director,
yes. But here's the thing.
black script, intervention.
Yes, and it's gotten
Soundtrack
more.
produced
Real
by
first
black artists.
superhero.
And
Right.
it should make over $100 million.
Yeah, that's what they say. Now,
So that's going to tell how important black Twitter is, right?
Michael B. Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
His girlfriend's white.
Mm-hmm.
Alleged
And people have decided they're going to boycott the movie.
And they
over
should.
that.
I don't think it's
They should.
people. I don't think it's people. I think it's a few.
Say who it is.
Very
Say who it is.
Say who it
Say
is.
who it is.
Very few black women
There you go.
whose fantasy has been destroyed in some
There
way,
you
fashion,
go.
or form.
Michael B. Jordan's that tall.
Whatever the
He,
case
don't
may
matter.
be,
he played in the movie. Right?
So is Prince.
Yeah, I know.
whatever the case may be,
They brought two power
women
actors
that are upset
together.
didn't have a chance anyway. Why would you sit up here and
Amen.
try to sabotage
Amen.
something that is basically for you? You know how long it took? We went through the Hulk. We went through Captain
We had
America.
Blank Man. Blank Man was our. 20 years ago, we was watching Blank Man. He had a plunger on his hip. And a pair of underwear on it.
Black Man, Handyman.
Yeah, Handy, all these people. We got a real budget.
Robert Townsend.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's a
We couldn't get a real black superhero. Now we get a real black superhero who's actually
Carl Weathers was
leader
our
of the
real.
country.
That's the only one we had. Carl Weathers.
Lee-
Action Jackson. Y'all remember Carl Weathers?
Yeah. He's a leader of a country that is technologically advanced. He didn't back down from any of the other superheroes. And you have an all-black cast almost. And now you want to say, oh, well, off-screen, his personal life, he's dating a white woman, which he has the choice of.
Thank
You
you.
can date anyone you want, because you never
But we
know who
gotta go-
you'll see me with.
We shouldn't go see. We shouldn't go see this movie because at this point in time in his life, he has a white girlfriend. If you look at what was it, Selma.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce.
I
his
know.
name. He's married to a white woman.
Right.
He played Martin Luther King. Wonderful movie.
I think Ghost is too on Power. I think Ghost, the actor, his
love Ghost.
his girl is white as
They
well.
love Ghost.
It's-
And then I
But
go
it's
boycott
more
Ghost. I
than-
guarantee that one.
It's probably a little more than that. What do you think else about why would they do that? You know, here's an opportunity to give this movie all the play, and it's going to get the play.
It's already
Oh,
got to play.
it's gonna make the money.
It's already sold more advanced tickets than any
Any
of the
other.
other Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that is big.
And it was consulted with. Listen, the revolution will not be televised.
Yes.
I mean, trust me.
Gil Scott Heron.
They got these. We did as good as
No,
we
the
could
black-
to say
well,
we could
yeah.
be.
and they shot it
basically-
in Atlanta. They couldn't get any blacker.
Yeah, this is as good as they could do to say this is what could happen if black folks came together, as Chris said. If they had a narrative, if they knew how to not to make a decision between the triage.
If black people was white people, this is what the world would look like. This is what the world would look like. And it's so emotional.
But again, I
And
still
that's
don't
what I
think.
put about Oprah. I said she's too emotional.
I still don't think. I still don't think that it's really us. I think it's somebody
Fabricated,
portraying
maybe?
themselves as us, getting on there.
You might be-
sabotaging, just
yeah,
like
you
they
might have a
did
point
with.
there.
Oh, okay, you saying that?
Yes, just like they did
Yeah,
with the
Yeah,
movie
'cause
about Nat Turner.
Yeah,
what do
I
we
agree.
care about the guy
Same way.
dating a white girl?
I don't care. My daughter.
What she look like? We got a picture
What
of
you
her.
say? You never
What she
know
look
who we gonna
like?
see you- who we gonna see you with,
I
right?
know.
I'll tell you what I think about. Put a picture of her. Let me see what she look like. That's what I tell you. If I think I'm like, well,
No.
he can do better. Or yeah, she's tight. Like it doesn't matter to
And it's
me.
preference.
Doesn't matter.
If he likes her, then we love her.
You know-
Keep it moving.
You know who it matters
But
to.
again,
We-
now, if you want to talk about making a mountain out of a molehill and attacking and feelings, this is stupid. This is stupid.
My man. That's what I'm talking about. This is absolutely crazy.
Well, Proud Mary opens today, or it opened.
Opens tomorrow. It opens tomorrow.
It opens
You
on
said
a
Friday.
Saturday.
No. On
Tomorrow.
midnight.
Oh,
It opened
today's
at midnight
Friday.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm
That's how they
sorry.
normally do.
It opens today.
Yeah,
It opens
yep,
today.
yep,
I
today.
apologize.
Well, Sony is not putting the money behind the promotion of the film. That's starring Taraji P. Henson, who is also on Empire. She was in Hidden Figures. She's a heck of an actress. Now, I may not like the plot line of the movie, but I would support her anyway. Jimmy Fallon really likes her and had her on his show the other day. But they're not promoting these movies that star black actors. Even though they make money, they make the money overseas.
Keep this in mind. All right, some movies, they didn't write Taraji the $20 million paycheck. If they'd wrote that paycheck for Proud Mary, they'd be promoting it. They did this basically as a video release. This is something they could have sold to Netflix for $20 million if they wanted to. So this picture is going to make $100 million. But it's not going to make $100 million because they're going to put $20 million in the promotion. It's going to make $100 million
No matter what.
no matter what. So Taraji got tapped, and she'll need to make too much noise, and I'm going to tell you why. Because she won't be having a follow-up to Proud Mary or Proud Holly anything. Because she wanted this to be her breakout picture. It wasn't designed for that. This picture was designed for it to be basically what used to be a video release picture.
Right.
But now it's a Netflix or it's a streaming picture.
But it could be.
Amazon
could be.
Fire Stick, they got broke picture.
Depending on.
They got a what?
Depending.
Amazon Fire Stick, they break the Fire Stick so they can get the movies. without
Jailbreak.
paying.
Jailbreak.
Jailbreak. Thank you. So it was designed for that purpose. 'Cause
You
keep
know
in
you
mind,
had free
jailbreak's not
cable
free.
for
Somebody's
years.
doing it on purpose.
Bootleg cable.
But depending on the numbers,
Right.
depending on the numbers, it always comes back to money. Depending on the numbers, it could be a breakout. And I like this just for the simple fact, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, diversifying, seeing people in different lights. You know, you have the movies where you have white actresses that come out and are action. You know, what is the lady that plays the Black Widow on the Marvel movie? She just did 2 or 3 different movies where
And
you know,
Wonder
basically the
Woman and all that stuff.
It was basically the same movie. She did it 3 different times as 3 different characters, but they keep producing.
Well, back in the Show Enough day, we had Foxy Brown. We had
Show
Pam
Enough.
Grier was playing everybody.
Yeah.
She was strong. She was beating men up. We liked that.
Oh, yeah, I like Pam Grier.
What I would say, what is interesting about this story and why I think for me personally it's noteworthy, someone like Taraji P. Henson, the reason why we need to champion her is because this is what I read that she recently bought the rights to the Emmett Till story, right? So there's a strategy now for us supporting Taraji P. because we see her reinvesting into a narrative that is important to us. Right. And so, again, I think that we can wrap our emotion in strategy and can wrap it in purpose and be very intentional and non-apologetic for who we are, you know. But, you know, if I'm not interested in Proud Mary, like I may not be interested in it, but I am interested in the narrative of pushing this Emmett Till story forward. So it's a way for us to
Absolutely. You
get
have to-
behind
it.
Yeah.
You have to
And
look down the road.
And I put my money where my mouth. I have three tickets. My mom's in town. We're gonna take her to the movie. My wife and I. So we're there. 5 o'clock show. We're gonna support
really?
Proud Mary.
And I think
wanna
we
do
have to. We have to support it with our dollars because we want our stories told. We want the powers that be that decide on which movie gets made to know that, hey, you can put your money behind a film with a black lead, with a black action person, a black storyline, a black historian, or what have you, and we will come out and we will support what is going on. As long as it's a good picture.
So, Brenda, do not be watching it with that jailbroken Fire Stick that you got, or that bootleg Barton
I don't
Cablevision
even
box.
understand the Fire Stick.
You know. Okay, she's like,
Okay.
my Fire Stick
no,
is jammed.
I want to support her. Because I know when I have shows, I like people supporting me.
So that's a campaign, right? Support Taraji, right?
But I want to know about them socks.
Oh man, okay. Let me tell you a little bit. So these right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you could see these socks.
They can see them. They can see them
They
right
got
there.
polka dots,
Stripes,
They're
gray.
teal, orange, and yellow, and gray.
That's what you call eclectic.
Eclectic.
Yeah, very, very, very
Eclectic.
eclectic. So, I mean, but in reality, I 100% agree. Like, we do have to push our narrative. My thing has never been, let's not worry, let's not be emotional. My thing is, let's strategize along the way.
I understand.
Let's move in an organized, calculated way. Because if not, we'll just be known as the people that are always fussing. And in some circles,
Always reacting,
Always
as
reacting.
opposed to being proactive.
I will say with the Black Panther movie, just as what happened with the Selma and the Nat Turner movie, people are having parties. They're making it,
great.
My fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. We're having a movie night February 18th.
Yep.
You didn't
Oh,
invite
the
me.
gym,
I don't even-
Huss Gym. They renting out the entire theater
Right.
on February 18th, and they're going to see the Marvel Panther, right? But those are things like that's where that's where it all comes together for me when you're putting your passion with your dollar And
I took my students to see, I was teaching then, to see Ray. And I've taken them to see, drama, want to
Sure.
see the acting. But I'll never forget, at the end of Ray, one of my students said, he died? I said, golly. I said, didn't your family talking around the table? He's been dead a few years.
Right.
But I actually ran into Ray Charles when he was living. I was coming.
Good. I
coming
was hoping it was when he was living.
I had to practice it. But I'm sitting in the airport, and it was just me, and I'm sitting here, Ray Charles sitting there reading a Playboy with Braille.
Playboy?
He was Braille, and he was
now
laughing.
that's
He was
interesting.
going- and I went and introduced myself and sat next to him for a few
Learn
minutes.
something new every day.
I actually have a very funny Ray Charles story.
Tell it quick.
I was 5 years old. I was in L.A. visiting my aunt. My parents came out. We went to this restaurant, and there were two big Great Danes sitting in a corner at the restaurant. And my mother, it freaked her out. We couldn't understand what was going on. So we asked the waiter. The waiter said, "Those are Ray Charles dogs." The dogs got to come into the restaurant and eat at the table like everybody else.
Wow.
Wow. He was a great artist.
That's when I knew he was the man.
Yeah. Everybody say
Smart businessman,
okay.
too.
We're done. Thank you, gentlemen. This has been quite an interesting discussion. I don't know if Chris was filibustering for a minute.
My
but-
socks match your shirt, polka dots.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye. Have a good weekend and a great week.